Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Welcome everybody to Islamic Finance Podcast with me and Maryam. What's the news?
We're in lockdown again.
We are in the lockdown again.
7-day circuit breaker, inshallah.
So before we start to make this podcast work better, I hope you are ready with your halal liquid coffee here on the table and some water. And I hope you are ready to join us for this unparalleled experience. It's called simultaneous sip. And if you are ready, we start in 3, 2, 1. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. So we had to skip last week. We got busy with so many things after Eid. Sometimes it's not easy to make everything align and your work and commitment and prepare yourself for podcast and then having to do post-production. So it takes a bit of a time, to be honest. People think we just rock up and in half an hour it's all done. But it takes a bit of a time, a few hours before, a few hours. So it's a quite commitment to come up, even though the podcast might be 20, 30 minutes. It takes a bit of time. In terms of this episode, we are continuing discussion about earning a livelihood. It's all about that. And we are now just playing with some basic ideas. So more and more what I'm noticing in the news, and that's particularly interesting with these quick rich schemes are propagated on Instagram. I don't use TikTok and stuff like that, but like I can see people who comment on that, they take a screenshot or they post. You have 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds advising people, all kinds of investment schemes marketed at, I would say, younger people, where they are sold on this idea you can make quick money if you follow this quick secret formula for $99.99.
I saw on one of the social media accounts, there was this guy and he was saying how, I think back in 2008 or 2012, something like this, someone created a projectile of how cryptocurrency will increase. And in that graph, it showed these huge fluctuations that we see now, but it shows that over time, supposedly it's called the rainbow effect. Like over time, it's still going to increase.
Yeah. Right.
It was just a very funny graph because the graph was also multicolored, and I was just okay.
That's usually associated with these traders. They sell what's called signals on different kind of apps, and then they supposedly recognize certain patterns of behavior in stock markets, and they tell you where it is going to go up and down. Everybody is very clever with the 2020 vision. When you're looking at what happened and you're trying to project some kind of a pattern, that's easy. Everybody is smart. If that truly worked, they wouldn't be selling these patterns for a couple of dollars of membership. They would be making millions of dollars themselves. It's that same idea like those fortune tellers going and telling you where the future is. If they knew the future, they would be buying the lottery tickets everywhere and making millions. They wouldn't be charging people $20 to tell them their future. So, of course, they will hedge that and say, oh, but that's not how it works. And they'll find some kind of excuses.
Yeah.
When you specifically look at the crypto, a lot of the points are about it being some kind of a store of value where you should ignore volatility, even though if you look at the last, let's say, month, the volatility in Bitcoin, for example, was like 40-50%. The idea that these people who are advising people to invest in crypto, that they have is that in 50 years, 20 years, you will be on the higher than what it is today. And you should ignore all the volatility. That's current idea. Before that idea was this will become a currency, so invest in it. But when it turns out that it's less efficient than any other currency, people don't use it as a currency, then it was sold as a great technology. When that argument didn't work because Visa and every other digital application like WeChat, Alipay, they're more efficient and better and faster. And then they move to kind of, it's a store of value. Whatever happens, they have a new answer. So if the market goes up, they say, see this, what we exactly said, it's going to go up. If it goes down, this is just a correction. Weak hands lost the money. Now it's the time to buy a dip. They have an answer because at the end of the day, what they are saying is that this will be the new world order under cryptocurrency. Everybody will submit, nobody can stop it. This is what driving what I say mania to invest. Problem with these things is that other than that speculation, blind thinking, you don't have anything else to say to it, that what else it does. The store of value argument is that it's a store of very volatile value. You don't know what value it will be every day is different value that is storing. And really, when you say it's going to be store of value, what you mean is that my crypto, I'll be able to sell it to someone else for their money at higher price. And that's how I basically store the value. It doesn't have some special magical properties where your value is increasing on its own. No, that store of value means simply I will sell it to you at double the price in the future. That's how I preserve my value. By you buying what I bought at less, you buy it at higher. Believing that, again, you'll sell it to somebody else at another higher price. So store of value here means it's a pyramid type of cascading from one person to another, and every party is buying at a higher price than the next. That's what makes the store of value here. Now, the people who will say, but that's the same with every other asset class and investments. But it's really not, because investments, they produce dividends from economic activities and pay you. So you don't really depend on somebody buying of shares. You are partnering in a business, for example, and or expecting to get sales up next quarter or next month or next year, and therefore profit. And same with the gold. The argument, it's going to be it's a next gold. But central banks use that gold on their level as a currency, at high level. Gold is a system which has its own unique properties that don't depend on the network to support it. So it independently exists. You can bury it in the sand and it will be there, which is not the case here. I guess I understand where this impulse comes. Just today I was talking with some people on one of these messaging apps, and we were talking about why is everybody suddenly talking about store of value. It's simply because more and more central banks are printing more and more money. There is this inflation, money is losing the value. Idea that really crypto is now claiming is that its monetary policy is hard-coded in the system. Which, if that was true, and that has use as a functional currency that people use and so on, it would be something interesting. Also, if it could defend itself, which it cannot, that it has many flaws that are intrinsic to the system. But idea that you have monetary policy predictable, coded, that cannot be interfered with, and therefore you can trust, is a powerful argument. And that actually is more a reflection of how little we believe or trust central banks that we see around ourselves. So it's evolving argument, it's an interesting argument. My thinking around it is that crypto technology would be more useful if it allowed us to monitor and keep check on the government and central banks to monitor their discipline in monetary policy, rather than everybody creating their own now currency and just driving the speculation crazy. And more this whole ecosystem of incentives where you cannot regulate the finance. It's all what they call DeFi, decentralized finance and so on. Means it's not, no one can regulate. It creates more and more incentives for bad actors to bring up the harm. And the system is not designed with regulation to prevent that harm. So I think we can expect crackdown will have to happen on anything that can bring about harm. All right?
Yeah.
So we're going back to our book, and I was today reading, and this is about what you should be focused on in life, which is why I tell people don't invest in crypto and these, even trading and other platforms, because it diverts your attention, not just your resources. I remember when I was studying finances a long time ago, one of our teachers, he wanted to teach us how to trade. We would have some, I think, $10,000 that we would have to trade demo money. It was all simulating real thing, but it was not real money. So the marks were given based on
who traded
yes. So more money you make from trading, better mark. And also you need to explain what happened. So I remember as soon as I started trading that money, I would take such a risky positions, and more I would do it. I would more and more risk it. Then I would be glued to the screen, like what's going to happen next. From like second to the second, you're trying to predict these so-called technical analysis. It's going up, it's going down. It's purely based on everybody else's decisions when to buy and sell. And then you have these charts and you're trying to catch it when it's up or down and predict. No one can predict that stuff. I realized that it's pure gambling. This is how gambling lifestyle looks like. Even though some people say this is not gambling, it is a gambling lifestyle. You gamble and it go up and down. You're just trying to guess movement of the price. And that's crazy lifestyle. That's not sustainable and not normal. So you become addicted and you're just looking at that screen constantly. After those couple of weeks, my head was hurting from just amount of time I spent just to try to pure and simple gambling lifestyle. I say to people, it's not just about halal or haram, about these things. It's about also you focusing your energy, time, and resources in something that it doesn't do anything in real life. Even if you profiting, whatever, you are wasting your time. You're not doing anything. There's nothing useful, and it's only stress that you are accumulating. You're selling your time for the stress and maybe profit, and in the long run, these kind of speculative income generating activities, they are not normal. So the reason why I'm saying this is that this brings me to this discussion that we had before, which is around, is having more money better than having less money? Basically, the poverty versus affluence. Here's the question. So in the past, when scholars used to ask, is it better to have affluence, you're well off, have money, or is it better to be poor? Think of the context in which this discussion is happening. What do you imagine?
Very simple lifestyle. You make your money, you eat your food, you do your work, and you repeat every day.
But think of this another level. So those scholars who are discussing, is this or that better? They have a state that takes care of their affairs. There is a leadership, political, military, protecting them and their lifestyle. You have a privilege to discuss whether I need more money or less money, because in either case, nothing gonna fundamentally change.
Yeah.
The system support the deen. Let's say you're living under Khilafah, under Islamic State, under a Sharia economic system. There's no like Islamophobia. There is no, you're gonna lose your kids because of somebody else gonna influence them or educate them. So when people are discussing these in that kind of setting, it's void of context. And it's only focused on individual, for you, what is better. Often not focused on what do we need as a society. So when we import this discussion in our life, we need to give it a different context. So in the current context, we need schools, we need services, we need some protection and safety to secure our rights as Muslims, religious rights, for instance. You have to ask that question with having that in mind. And I would connect that point with the question of leadership. In a sense, when we talk about leadership in Islam, you are not supposed to ask for leadership. This desire to have it is corrupting type of a desire. Unless situation where you are in demands somebody to step up and there is no one, so you then ask, like Yusuf, to lead, to be given that responsibility. And therefore, when most of the rights are not fulfilled or the rights are not protected and there is nobody to support and promote our values, who is going to do it and how? So this demands from us to step up, basically, in both cases, in terms of having the wealth and in terms of having more leadership role in what we are doing on institutional and individual level. And the point for us, especially, let's say, in Western society, is that if you want something, you must pay a price for that something.
no matter what you do, like if you request something from someone, there's going to be a price.
Another thing is that there's a price you want to pay for wealth, you want to earn the wealth, but there is a point in time where you are trading so much time for that wealth, where the extra money that you make starts serving you in a way so you can dedicate even more time to serving the wealth. It becomes a vicious circle. And for me, one good example of that is a lot of education, where it is going, where now both of the parents often work. They send the kids to the school, and school is designed so it is full day taking care of the kids so the parents can work.
Yeah.
And therefore you sort of work so you can support the school, and then school is there so it can support you in your work. It's become sort of commercial arrangement, which mainly is designed to serve economy. And we lose the sight of education is about time we give to these children. It's not just about working, everybody working more so we can have pretend education. We outsource everything. So critical here component of building something is balance between time to make money and do something with that money. You work to live, not live to work, in a sense. Where does the wealth then kind of fit in?
Yeah.
If I plot on the graph, on one end, extreme wealth, and on the lower end, extreme poverty. I found one narration. I'm not sure if it is 100% correct. I couldn't find classification of this hadith. It says the Prophet ﷺ said, "O Allah, I seek refuge with you from poverty that causes one to be neglectful and affluence that causes transgression." On one end, you have poverty that is extreme. And you have some other narrations, weak, but supported by others, that says the poverty is close to disbelief. You have extreme poverty that is moving you, inching you towards disbelief, because people get obsessed. And that's why this hadith also says that you get negligent, neglectful. Extreme case of poverty brings you there. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ even make dua to be saved from that sort of situation. On the other hand, you have so much wealth that causes opposite, transgression. There was another hadith which says that several times in his life, Abdurrahman ibn Auf would just give away half of his wealth. So he would reach extreme level of wealth for those days, and he would give half. Then the wealth would double. Let's say he's got $10 billion. He give 5. The next year he's got 20 billion. He give 10. The after that 40, he give 20. So he would constantly give. And it says in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ on the Day of Judgment will ask Abdurrahman, who will come from the last of his companions. He said, "O Abdurrahman, what kept you from coming to me?" He says, "I had to give account." And Prophet Sulaiman will be said that, and this is talking about prophets and between the prophets themselves, he will be the last of the prophet who will join them because he had to give account for his wealth. If you have a line from extreme poverty to extreme wealth, in the middle you have, let's say, normal poverty, normal wealth, and then you have some kind of a middle. So often people who are saying the poverty is not good, especially extreme poverty, they focus on this aspect where that leads. So you'll find a lot of references, as I mentioned, the Prophet ﷺ asking to be saved from this situation. At the same time, those who talk about evils of wealth, well-being, the fitna, and so on, they will talk about this situation where extreme wealth can cause person to transgress. Now, both of these cases are not good, which is very interesting for another thing. When I put a graph and extreme poverty on one end and this wealth on other, I underline both. These are two extremes. And look at zakat. It's taken from one and given to another.
To bring the middle.
Right? So zakat as an instrument is actually equalizing this. It's given to those in extreme poverty. And who is it taken from? From the wealthy. So the safeguarding here is not that you eliminate the differences between people. That's something that is there.
Lessening the gap.
That's right. So you want to remove extremes. And then you have other instruments that bring the more equity and balance and so on. So that's a different story. And in between of these two sides, there are two aspects of behavior that you need to project, that you are tested on. If you are on one side where the poverty is, you are basically in deficit. On the other hand, you have a surplus. So the test here is between sabr, patience on this side, or gratefulness, shukr on the other side. Which is why the scholars used to ask, is gratitude for wealth superior or patience in the face of poverty? What do you think?
I don't know, both of them are good. Because there's that saying of the Prophet, how good is the state of the believer. When something bad befalls him, he's patient and that is good for him. And when something good happens to him, he is thankful and that is good for him. So give glad tidings to the believers.
Right. There is another one, very similar, which supports the same line of thinking, that both of these are alike, which is that eater who is grateful is like a hungry who is patient.
Mm.
And this is in Tirmidhi in his Sahih. We have similar scenarios amongst the Prophet. One is Sulaiman, who was given the wealth, and Ayub, he was in a trial and he was patient. The link here is, common denominator is that the heart is connected with Allah through either shukr or sabr. And that's the point. The point is that you are not necessarily defined by the situation you are in, but the response to that situation. Whatever your destiny is for you, what you need to focus on is how you going to handle that, how you going to fix that situation. And that's what I think we are judged. So these two circumstances, sabr and shukr, patience in poverty and tribulation versus shukr or gratitude for favors. Let's put it this way. Which one would you be in? Rather, to have something and be grateful, or not have something and having to be patient?
Not have something and having to be patient.
Really? Would you choose that for yourself?
Because that way you're forced to be patient. But if with gratitude you can forget.
But if you are choosing, I doubt that anybody would choose.
Obviously.
For example, would somebody choose to be sick and patient? Let's say get corona and be patient, or be healthy and being thankful?
Healthy and thankful, but like it's easier to, I don't know, but I feel like it would still be easier. Yeah, like you have to be patient. Like you don't have a choice. You have to be. You're in that situation. You got to deal with it. You know, you can be angry, upset, whatever, but you have to be patient. You don't have a choice.
Some people are crushed by that, and they also, like extreme poverty takes them out. Trial takes them out. The reality is that patience is harder than being grateful.
Yeah. People are so forgetful with gratitude. That's the thing. And then you, like you said, on the day of judgment, you'll be held to account and you'll be like, oh, I forgot. What do you mean you forgot?
Right. Right.
What's daisy? But with patience, it's like when you're fasting, yeah, like you can't eat, like you're hungry, okay, but you just got to deal with it and get it on, like you just wait till the sun sets, wait till Maghrib, it's fine.
But that assumes that you will do it.
Eating, that you can be patient and be angry too.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, but when you're not fasting, like you just eat your food, no worries, don't think about it. Don't think, if you're hungry, you eat. If you're not hungry, you don't eat. That's it. Like you don't think about it. But when you're forced to think about it, because you're in a position where you can't do something, then you're like, I know.
I guess that's why some scholars are saying that, because you're not going to be accounted for not having.
Yeah.
There is a superiority of that position.
That's why the first to enter paradise will be the poor. One of the reasons.
Right. This is where they don't have something to be accounted for. So that's on individual level. See, if everybody was in that situation, who would be a soldier guarding people? Who would be a leader protecting and providing? Why would we have the upper hand is better than the lower hand as well?
And obviously, you need both types of people. And different people, like you said, can handle different things. That's why we all have our own individual strengths and weaknesses, individual trials and tribulations. And, you see some people are in some test and you're like, I would never be able to do that. But they're going through it, patiently. And other people, they would never be able to do that. They would completely, maybe they'll, kill themselves, like to take it to an extreme, but they wouldn't be able to, everything in their life will fall apart because of that, such a test.
I guess just wanted to clarify that when it comes to the difference why patience is harder, is because you are rewarded for this affliction in patience. You have affliction, plus you have a patient. So you have kind of two things. You are not compensated for affluence. So it's interesting how interlinked these two states are. And whenever this one cuts you, this one can also, you see how it cuts, wealth can cut people. And both extremes are bad.
Yeah.
To be honest, I know a lot of people who maybe preserve the sanity of the life because they don't have too much money. They have a lot of more time that is almost like a luxury when you don't have responsibilities. People can read, they can think, they can pay attention to their kids and family. And so sometimes not having responsibilities and leadership and in the outside world or something like that allows for a lot more time. There is that time aspect in all of these things. What are you trading in terms of the time to get there? So where does that leave us? I think as a community, in terms of leadership and securing the rights, there have to be leadership and wealth and upper hand and superiority in terms of having resources. As for individual, there is an option in terms of the lifestyle not to have balancing what you think it's better for you. It's similar like when you eat a lot of food, you consume something that should go to somebody who's hungry. First type of wrong that you are doing. Then it's harming yourself is the second thing. So you are filling as another hadith says, the worst bucket you can fill is the stomach. So first of all, it's like you are throwing half of that food in the garbage, and plus you are harming yourself. And I was reading another hadith. It might be just a story between two companions, I think. I cannot now remember, but one of them was saying that I used to drink, and this is what scholars are discussing, I used to drink a drink to make digestion of the food easy. And scholars and companions asking at that time, like, who does that? Who pushes more food into them? And they made it as not permissible. It is later scholars who talked about, they say it's only permissible if you have a reason to do it. And a reason is, for example, you had a lunch and then the guests come. So you don't want to eat, but in order not to be embarrassed or to make them feel uncomfortable, you have a bit more food. And then you have some, let's say like now, Coke, Pepsi, people pill some of these fizzy drinks to digest, So think at that level. If you think in terms of the wealth, at that level for yourself, what discipline you impose on yourself. Like Umar, they used to say he didn't have much things because he was interested in bigger things in life. He will have resources as a general, as a commander, as a leader of believers. He will have resources, the top resources under his disposal. But these resources were used to build the deen and hereafter. And I think that's where the issue in this whole discussion is about. Are you content with what you have? And is that helping you establish yourself, your deen, and build your hereafter? Or are you indulging and letting this love of these things, desires lead you? Is that the motivation? Where is heart really connected? And therefore, where is your time connected with? Are you serving this money? Are you serving whatever you're serving? Or is this really something that is necessity for you and you're purely looking at it as something that should be put in service for your deen and for your hereafter? Just as we were editing this podcast, I noticed 2 points, one from Maryam and one from myself that I want to include here at the end. And first is Maryam points. She noticed that if we look at Prophet ﷺ lifestyle, we would today say that how he lived and companions is extreme poverty. So just interesting point to consider when we are talking what we are having, what we have access to, what poverty means to us today with all of the air conditions and food being delivered to average person. Really, average person would have a food and everything delivered to them on the touch of a button on Uber and so on. So that's one thing. Another point that I thought as I listened to this is going back to our own discussion in the beginning, and this lifestyle where a lot of people are entering into trading, quick money schemes and so on. This discussion highlighted an important question between living in the poverty and then having time for the important things in life versus a life of wealth and being grateful versus being patient. But imagine if this discussion was introduced to our scholars with the context of a lot of this dreaming or the lifestyle where people engage in speculative trading, where all time is consumed on stressful activities, which create zero economic benefits. So I know I'm a little bit attacking and hating on traders and people who do these kind of things, but this activity that sucks all of your time and energy from you removes people from activities that are designed to benefit others, that improve nothing and no benefit is created. So imagine if people are discussing a type of a lifestyle that they should live, which is the lifestyle that is purely halal and benefiting people, and should I engage and how much my time is going on for these things versus this lifestyle of traders, of these people who sit behind laptop and are constantly glued to these little screens. I mean, where are we wasting our time for nothing? Okay, so just needed to put that little spice there for our friends who are spending a lot of their time in these kind of activities. That's our little discussion for today. If anybody's got any comment, please send us, especially in our group. Post it in the comments on Telegram. We would like to hear from you, your thoughts, how you are managing, how you are finding the balance, what do you personally think is important for you, how we as a community can also find the strength to secure the lifestyle that is necessary for us. I thank you very much for joining us. Share this episode, subscribe to all of our, whatever,
Platforms.
what you're listening us on. There is now, this podcast is also available on SoundCloud as well. So we are now, I think, most of these well-known platforms. Okay, that's it for us today. We thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Stay healthy.
Shalom.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.